just wanted to check in with you guys and chat. Hope all is well. As we are waiting, I hope you guys are getting excited for, oh, I think someone has joined.
Hello.
Hope you guys are getting excited for Sonic. Hi.
Hello. Yes, I'm excited for sure. Hello, everyone. If you haven't seen me before, my name is FocusSight or just Focus. I'm a Sonic 06 runner, but I run a bunch of other stuff as well. It's going to be a fun time. If you've never seen a run of Sonic 06, it's quite a broken game, obviously, and it makes for just fantastic speed tech, especially Silver's story. I'll be talking quite a bit throughout this run, as this is a very tech-heavy run, but it should be a lot of fun. I got like 7 seconds away from my own mode record in practice yesterday, so that's a good sign. Don't want to jinx it though, because it probably will anyhow. But yeah, so. It's honestly a pleasure to be here and to be supporting Pods and Habo, so I'm very, very excited. Without further ado, though, I think we're ready to go in 5, 4... Oh, an echo? Oh, is there an echo? That's strange. Okay, I'm not gonna start quite yet. I want to figure out what the heck is happening.
While we're waiting on that, we just got a tip for $7.70 from Cha Wawa. Thank you so much for the donation. Wawa. Thank you so much for the donation.
Okay, testing now. Should be fine. I'm just checking to make sure there isn't any echo anymore. Is there still echo? Okay. So I have to mute myself on my own end. Okay. Well, that's good then. Thank you for the donation as well, Chihuahua. I appreciate it. And I think I'm really sorry for those technical issues. It's 06. I say it infects everything I play and do, so it's fine. But let's get ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So first things first that I want to talk about is something called Telethrow. Telethrow is a fairly recent trick found in Silver's story about less than a year ago, found by accident, and it changed the category entirely. So, essentially Silver can lift up objects by standing on them and holding RT. If you're at a steep enough angle and try to throw the object at that point, the game is going to try to throw it down, but because of your orientation, down is now slightly up and forward, meaning you can toss yourself on objects as long as the steepness is right. It is quite an incredible trick, and it is the epitome of a trick that is easy to learn, hard to master. Well, there we go. So I can finish that first section in just 16 seconds. Unlike the previous trick we used there called Telefling, this is a lot more controllable, maneuverable, and it has a lot more, has a wider range of applications. It is now the defining trick, and I absolutely adore it. It's incredible. So now here we're supposed to be playing as Blaze, but we're not going to. Instead, I'm going to do something called Levitation Extensions. So as Silver, Silver has the stun slot move that you can do by pressing X. It has a really weird property, where if you hold it on the last frame of animation of something, it will actually maintain the momentum of that move, even after you finished it. So it's quite a useful trick. Oh, gonna have to do a bit of a backup here. So Levitation Extensions, while they are a single frame, essentially, I use a claw grip to hold X 2 frames after I let go of A. Not only will that regain my action gauge, it will also mean I move forward faster when I fall, further than I would normally, which is quite useful. As you can see at the bottom right, everything in this game is limited by a action gauge. All of Silver's mechanics, including hovering, lifting up objects, all that sort of stuff. So the other additional thing that Levitation Extensions do, besides preserving your momentum in the air, is it also allows you to regain your action gauge, because holding X at this point for some reason regains it, which means you can hover not only faster forward, but also for longer. I just did a frame buffered input there. I was holding X on the previous screen, and I let go of X on the load screen. What that does is it forces the game to input that button first frame when you load into the next section. And for Silver's case here, that means we immediately swap from Blaze to Silver. And that means we finish Crisis City, just like that. Very fast-paced stage, and this is a very hectic run. I just did Results Breakout. We don't have a specific use for this in Silver's story, but essentially if you swap characters in the final section and then don't hit a checkpoint, what happens is the game then decides to let you play on the results screen because it doesn't know which character to play as. It's essentially forcing a respawn at that point, but the game doesn't know which character to respond to because the results screen is sort of another state. It wants to play as Blaze because that's the character you spawned in as. But it doesn't allow you to play as Blaze, so instead you're still Silver, and that means you play on the results screen. It's a little nifty thing. Up next here, we have Iblis Phase One. The main antagonist of Silver's story is Iblis, as you may hear from his, Iblis trigger, that sort of catchphrase. Iblis One's a good example of Silver's object mechanics and how we deal with combat. So, Silver can lift up things with his psychokinesis, of course, but the important thing to keep in mind is that objects will be thrown in the order they are picked up. So this big one to the right of me, that one's going to be thrown first. So I want to make sure that I'm positioning the objects relative to one another pretty well. Ooh. It's going to take this a bit safe. Iblis takes a total of 3 hits per cycle, and I need to be extra careful to make sure all the puffs I have hit. It's a little bit of an annoying boss sometimes. That's not a good start. Oh, this is not a good Iblis. That's okay, though. I'm just going to look for another object to throw at him, if I can. Yeah, this is very slow. And we got it in the end. So yeah, Silver's object mechanics are pretty important, and you need to make sure that you're not damaging your own ammo. It can be quite vital, or it can be quite vital to the run, depending on how well you actually manage your objects. The other thing for Iblis Phase 1 and Iblis Phase 3, as well as Egg Genesis, is that the bosses have invincibility frames. You want to make sure you're not spamming objects, because that means you just waste ammunition. And that can be a big time loss, as you can see there, if you miss even one hit, and it can mean a significant difference in what cycle you get. It's not a bad game, Benji. It's not a bad game. Stop it. Stop it. It's a great speed game, legit. I think 06 is the epitome of a game where you can look at it and say, hey, this game sucks. And you play it casually and you do like all that. But then you see it as a speed game and it opens up all these different possibilities because of how broken it is. And I think Silver's story is the pinnacle of that. I know this game is bad casually, but you need to understand that a speed game is not the same as playing the game through normally. And as a result, you can really start to appreciate what a game is like if you try to speedrun it. So, Telethrow is amazing because you can do it on pretty much any object. And that means you can just go right to the mirror here, and bam. I keep on wanting to split because I'm used to having my normal splits at this point, but I don't have them, so... Yeah, I've been running this game for 8 years now, Benji. So, I mean, I will be defensive of this game. But I was talking about Telethrow. So the good thing about Telethrow is you can set it up on almost any object so long as you can just lift it. Which means there are a bunch of different ways to do Telethrow in this game. For instance, these two boxes together, I can push them like that. And this gives me a good angle on this side of the box. I'm holding the camera up to mitigate lag. Funnily enough, this laser is not actually a barricade. If you get hit, you can just walk right through it. You can't do that in other stories, so that's Tropical Jungle. Really quick stage because of Telethrow. Used to be a lot longer, about a minute or so in previous runs, or like the previous strats. So it's genuinely a pretty good stage nowadays. That box tilt is not always consistent. You need to be aware of how you're timing when you move forward. I usually move forward when I'm at like about, what's the word? Like about or around, more than halfway, like there's less than halfway of an overlap between them. Anyway, now we're at Wave Ocean Blaze, and we're going to do the frame buffered input again. I was holding X that entire time, and I let it go here, which means we're going to break out of automation. And we're going to do something called the Loop Launch. This is a 360 exclusive glitch that uses the homing attack whiff. Homing attack whiffs are basically when you try to aim towards something, like with a homing attack, and you miss your target. So, that works. That's good enough. Not perfect, but not bad. So yeah, basically the game perpetuates the homing attack until you can hit something you know. I'm gonna be safe here, and I'm gonna get the because we're a little bit behind. I'm gonna just get the checkpoint first before I do the next part, so just to be safe. So homing attack whiffs. The reason why that's 360 exclusive is because there's only homing attack beacons on the 360 version for loops. Technically, the whiff is in both games, in both versions, but only on 360 can you do that. And now we have a cat bouncing on water. Ah, it's false. Good thing I got the checkpoint. So this is an advanced Fireclaw or AFC. It's a frame-perfect trick that essentially allows us to maintain momentum as Blaze. She has this move which can be done by holding X, which is that's the spinning claw. That's not fast enough. Let me just do it again. So I'm building up speed on the rail here by pressing rhythmically, and then I'm holding X and letting go the frame after I jump. What that does is the game it takes this move and it lasts about twice, 3 times as long. And I have the speed of my rail, which is quite fast. And that allows me essentially to just bounce on water with that speed for as long as the move lasts, which is about, if you do the right frame, it's about 17 to 18 seconds. And so we can skip right through the stage like that. Alrighty. Next up, we have a normally required mission called Mission 8. And so we're supposed to help Lord Regis, not Regis Philbin, get through, protect Castletown, which is the place he is, because we always love an incompetent mayor in video games. Essentially, at this point in the run, you're supposed to go and do a combat mission all the way on the other side of this town. We don't want to do that, so we're going to skip it by using boxes. Yeah, so S ranks actually aren't a strictly good thing. Wham is right, and I'll get into that when we get to Sonic's boss fight in a little bit. So this is called the lift exploit. We don't have a nice tele-name for it, I'm sorry to say. This is called a lift exploit. So I'm just gonna get some boxes here. They're gonna face that wall, don't worry. The draw distance will break out. There you go, told you. And I'm gonna press this against the right corner of the wall. Let's see if I can get it. That did not work as I wanted. Let's try that again. Maybe with a different box. So the lift exploit essentially requires a flat surface and a flat object. The game at that point, if you can lift up the object higher than the surface, then that means you'll be pushed right through. Wow, this is not wanting to work for me. I blame Amy. Okay. There we go. So that's the lift exploit. It's a little bit finicky with that door because of the collision there, but essentially it's the same premise each time. So long as you have a flat surface and you can lift it above a flat ceiling, the game will allow you just to break out of bounds. And we're going to use that here in Dusty Desert as well. Little bit of a finicky setup there, sorry. It's actually not. That is just bad collision, by the way. It's not like somersault storage. It's just that bit of collision, you just do that. It's a weird little bit of collision. Anyways, I have this pot here. I'm going to push it against the wall like so. It's flat surface right there. I'm then going to clip out of bounds here, pick up a pot. I'm going to wait a little bit for the enemy to shoot. Push it against this wall like so, and the wave will break it out of bounds. I now have a pot. And I'm going to try to get it like this. Sorry. There we go. I want it towards me. So this bit of the pot is flat. And it's a good angle for telethrow, which means we can just go across the stage like so. The ball puzzle's to my left there. We're just skipping it entirely. And there you go. That's Dusty Desert, done in less than a minute. This used to be a stage where in RTA we would get like 2 minutes at best, so Telethrow has really improved this category. And it's a really cool trick as well, because you just fly over the entire stage. There are death planes above me and to my right, which is why I had to be kind of careful there. But that was the smoothest Dusty Desert I could have ever asked for. Absolutely wonderful. All right, and so we were talking a little bit about S-Ranks before, but I actually quite like the setting of Sonic 06. It's in Soliana, it's like Venice, it's, you know, calming, relaxing. It's a good aesthetic they chose, I think. And one of the ways I can prove that is through, you know, the most relaxing boss fight. This is just catharsis incarnate. Watch. I thought it froze for a second. Good. Very quick fight. So this is actually an instance where I usually would go for an A rank. So the S rank itself adds 5.5 seconds an animation. However, I just got a fast enough S rank for it to save me time. That's actually the only time you would ever save time on that fight if you get an S rank. It's because the margins here are so tight, it's actually faster to avoid an additional metal here most of the time, unless you get under 8 seconds. And I did. So, there we go. Really quick fight. I don't know, my camera was desynced. That's really strange. Let me just fix that. Oh, you know why it's desynced? It's going... So, my audio isn't going through my stream. My audio is going through Discord. So, that's why I can't fix that, unfortunately. Because you don't want the echo. And I need to talk with the people on the Discord call to actually speak. So... It's okay. I'm obviously transcending time and space as a 14-year-old from the future. It's okay. There's going to be some sort of space-time continuum rift. It's all fine. It's probably because of Discord slowly lagging behind. Like some lag with Discord. But at this point in the run, we would get something called the Shock Bracelet normally, if you're playing just casually. It's a really useful item that allows you to stun enemies within a radius. We're going to skip it, even though it's like super useful for combat and stuff. We don't want it, so instead we're going to cause a traffic violation. I'm going to push this thing against the wall like so. I need to push it, I need to flip it around, so please allow me to flip you. There we go, I'm going to push it against the wall, through the wall like this, and I'm going to walk to the right. There you go. That's a pretty simple clip out, and I'm so glad we found it because the previous strat used to be pain. A lot of pain. And so, yeah, we can just do that. And now we get to have Blaze for a little bit. This is the last time we're going to see Blaze, and I'm going to try to finish this section with an Advanced Fire Claw to clip through geometry at the end. The Advanced Fire Claw is pretty fast in most instances, and a lot of the times in Sonic 06, all you need is the right speed, geometry, and angle to clip through anything. Well, with that in mind, we have about 30-40 seconds for donations, so if you want to mention anything, go right ahead.
No donations at this time, but I'm enjoying this run.
Good.
I'm enjoying this run.
I'm so glad, because most people go like 06, they go, oh, 06. Oh, I'm really high. Whoa. I don't know if I'm going to be safe. Oh, that's what happened. So I stored the Fire Claw, which is actually Blaze's homing attack. Really weird momentum properties. If you land it on the ground, the game decides to just, like, do some really weird... I don't know how to explain it, but it, like, makes you slide. Kind of, and there we go. So I'm just going to clip through here at the right side, and there you go. Don't have to defeat those enemies. Don't have to defeat either of the enemies in that section, funnily enough. Because Blaze... The first one is just because the lasers, there's a small gap to the right, which you can just go through. And this one is because of the AFC. So there's actually no way to clip out if you miss that. So it's a little bit of a risky trick, especially because collision detection on the sides there means sometimes you can fall without recovery. And that means you have to restart that entire section. That didn't happen, fortunately, and so we are still on good pace. So Telethrow, yeah, really broken trick. I don't know how else to explain it. It's very broken because you can do it on pretty much anything. And we're not even done with the funniest items you can use it on, and we use it on the run. You're going to see that in a little bit. But combat here, these enemies take 4 hits normally. But the quickest way to defeat them here as Silver is either to get 4 hits from the broken rock shards that you'll get, or it's to, sorry, I'm just trying to stand on this. Please lift. There's no steep angle here. That should work enough. Oh, that's actually really steep. Never mind. So they normally take 4 hits, and typically it's quickest if you can knock out an enemy like that has a health bar in, let's say, trying to think of a good amount of time. If you can like knock it out within like 4 seconds or something, that's really great. Usually it's if you can stun an enemy immediately that has like a health bar, best way to get rid of them. Because if you stun them and pick them up, that's only 2 inputs rather than the multiple hits you're going to have to do. Which means that typically that's the best, but those enemies in particular, the golems, they aren't vulnerable. They cannot be stunned until they've lost both their arms. So you need to do 2 hits worth to make them drop both their arms, which is what we do. And now we're on to Egg Genesis, the 3rd boss of Silver's story. This is a cyclic boss. It takes 6 hits per cycle and a total of 4 cycles, so 24 hits. I'm going to get enough missiles here to finish the first few cycles off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I now have done everything besides 2 hits. And I'm going to finish it off like that. And now I'm going to pick up the missiles for the remaining sections. Oh. I don't like this. Focus does not like this. Yeah, I need to get some rings. This is a little bit slow, but that's fine. I didn't want to die. Although I guess now it's faster actually not to do anything. This is going to take a while to finish. That's okay. It's 8 in the morning here. I'm just going to use boxes to defeat a giant, robot. You know how it be. That was honestly not great at all. What I was trying to do there was to get enough missiles to defeat it within 2 grabs, basically. So I get enough missiles to finish the first 2 cycles, and then I get enough missiles to finish the remaining 2 cycles with the 3 worth that we get later on. Issue is, as I mentioned earlier, this boss has invincibility frames. And so if you actually hit too early, you will waste your ammunition, which is exactly what happened to me. And that meant I only got 2 hits in. And I had no rings, and I didn't want to die. So yeah, that wasn't great, but we're still having fun, which is all that matters. And next up, I know you all have experienced the psychokinetic thrill of Silver the Hedgehog, and that you've enjoyed the passionate, fiery spirit of Blaze the Cat. But I don't think any of you have experienced true speed. None of y'all are ready for what speed is. You're ready? I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go really fast. Let's go, like, immensely fast. Heck yeah, Amy. Heck yeah. So this is the Amy mission. We can't skip it. In fact, as I learned from a friend of mine, one of the other runners, Gordon, so the game loads in chunks in 06. So this is why certain skips aren't possible. Like, I can't skip to a later chunk oftentimes because they're, like, sort of isolated sections. Guess what? In Silver's story, this is its own chunk, and only this mission and the cutscenes around it. They decided, I want a whole section of data for this. Really. And there's also no way to fail this mission. There's no fail condition, nor is there any timer. If you revisit this mission in the town trial, it has a timer, like a time limit. Obviously it has a timer there, but I'm saying it counts down from 5 minutes, and you're supposed to have 5 minutes worth of time to defeat the enemies, but not in story mode. Excellent Amy mission, though. That was really good. 49 is great. You can get a 44 on PS3 because the draw distance works differently on that version, and it means that some barricades explode and results in some of the enemies killing themselves rather than you having to kill them, it's just faster that the game does it for you. But obviously it's not worth the about 10 minutes slower loads per hour that PS3 has. PS3, you can't natively install the game to your console like I do on 360, and because of that, that means the loads on PS3 are about 5 to 10 seconds slower every load. We have recently allowed, via modding, to install the PS3, but PS3 has other reasons why it's a worse version of the game. Most notably, the PS3 version is a lot laggier in places, it's a lot less stable in its frame rate, and certain glitches are actually patched out on PS3 entirely, which means you can't do them. And so 360 is just the best way to go, IMO. We're running on emulator because emulator has loads that are about a fourth of what we have here. Yes, a fourth. And if only Microsoft and Sega gave this game backwards compatibility, we would have that on console on Series X, but nope. And so the run is 25% load screen. But now we got the Heart of Wind, and I mentioned earlier the Levitation Extension. The Levitation Extension is using the stun slap move to maintain your momentum on the final frame of animation of an action. This is the same principle. We're doing the teleport dash here, which goes about 180 meters per second. It's a quite fast, basic move, but we're essentially storing the momentum of the teleport dash in our stun slap, which is a single frame trick, but it is so useful and so quick that we use it all the time. Like, it's pivotal to the run, arguably. Although not as much as it was before. It's still useful because that means Silver can clip through almost anything on his lonesome, doesn't need objects, doesn't need any of that, and it's fast. It's self-propelled. But that doesn't mean telethrow is completely out of the equation. No, definitely not. We still got telethrow for ages. Look at this. Look at whatever the heck this is. I love it. Sonic Riders DLC. Yeah, so we use a shovel here to get to the end of the stage. This is it. Use a extended teleport dash to clip through here. And there we go. Very solid. That probably is actually a gold split, so I need to look back at my recordings, because this was just a perfect radical train. Very smooth. And so we finished in 23 seconds, like that. Most of silver stages are under a minute, actually. Like a majority now are under a minute. Or around about a minute. We love the shovel. And now we're on to the worst boss in the game. Let's go. This is Shadow the Hedgehog. And I don't like this boss. This boss can be here and there, let's say. This boss can be really quite very... I'm going to restart that. I want an ETD over to here to get away from Shadow long enough. I'm going to pick up these barrels. I'm going to hit them at him here. So I have these barrels over here, going to pick up these 3. This is just like Sonic in that Shadow doesn't have any invincibility frames, but unlike Sonic, there aren't many items, and Shadow actually takes more hits, if I recall. So I've gotten this set, and now going to get another 3 over here. Shadow's going to turn into Red Shadow, our favorite Shadow, which he does at half health. I'm going to wait for him to be in the air. And one more hit. There we go. That was a really good Shadow fight. So I think that strategy is working. I was thinking this wasn't a consistent strategy for like low to mid to high 30s, but it is. And so this is very cool. I might like Shadow a little bit more now because the strategy seems to work every time. Pick up those barrels in that order and throw them at the right spot. The issue with Shadow's fight is sometimes the barrels won't actually register as a hit, and instead will register just as an object, which means it will throw Shadow across the arena, which isn't very good. You don't want that at all. It's a little bit frustrating, in fact, if that happens, because it messes with your entire object management. Because there aren't too many ways that you can hit Shadow there. There are total, in that arena, in the ones we get, if I remember correctly, there's a total of like 28 barrels, and he takes 24 hits. So you can only have 4 missing barrels until you have to wait for respawn. Anyways, Aquatic Base is broken. Let me show you why. So that was the start. This is the end of the first section. There you go, 10 seconds. That's the first section done just right then and there. You can use an ETD and an SETD. There are 2 different things to do different things. So they're the same input. They're the same basic premise. Holding the stun slap on the final frame of animation to maintain momentum. The difference between them is you can only do an SETD, the one where you hold it for longer, a super extended teleport dash, if you've skipped the shock bracelet, as we did earlier. The shock bracelet works by holding X. It's a move that's like a sort of like a ground pound that stuns enemy within a radius. It's done by holding X. So if you get the shock bracelet, you can't do what I just did. You can do this one, or sorry, messed that up, nice. You can do the one where you just press X, but you cannot hold X. You will fall like a rock at some point. And so that's why we skip the shock bracelet as well. Because while combat is a little bit restricted at this point because of the lack of a really useful way to stun enemies, you can still stun enemies by holding X, and you can't do these massive clip outs and like workarounds, which is just more important, honestly. So how do we deal with combat without the shock bracelet then? I typically try to stun enemies that have health bars, such as these worms. And these worms have particular uses here in this one, because you can see these birds, they suck. But they stun themselves, and once they're stunned, as long as they're registered as being in collision, they will despawn. So I can just pick up the worms, push them against the birds, and they'll despawn like that. And bam, not a bad aquatic base. It used to be much more annoying because sometimes the birds would go very high and then they wouldn't be stunned. They only get stunned if they register as hitting some sort of surface, and then they'll despawn if they're in a surface and stunned. Which means sometimes if you have 2 of those birds close to each other, you can just stun slap them and one of them will die, because one of them will register as being in collision, which is kind of funny. And now we get into a little bit of a chiller, mellower part of the run here. Well, right, it's the calm before the storm, let's say. This is a funny mission, and it's unskippable. We've tried everything to skip it. There are doors here that obviously go to certain locations. The load zone for the area we're supposed to go into next, which is Soliana Forest, which is the place we jumped into after I completed Iblis Phase One, it's not active here. So we need to complete this mission. And this is a mission, for sure. I can't say it's not. This is protect Anna. She knows the secret. And she does indeed know the secret. It's a pretty good secret. What is it? Old men in Kingdom Valley. That's the secret, everyone. So this unlocks the trials, which we have to do. Well, do we have to do the trials? I don't know. Anyways, you can see the mission wants us to protect Anna. It's an escort mission. Yeah, it's not. The first major enemy of this mission is a bench. So I'm going to try to push Anna away from this bench. Good. Okay, so that bench, if you don't push her away like that, that bench will stop her and you'll actually waste all the time you could save by doing this next part. She's just going to go to the end. There are no enemies, so she won't slow down or stop because of draw distance, except if we load enemies in behind her, she'll speed up. And that means we essentially do the exact opposite of the mission requirement to complete the mission faster. So I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to get some rings just to be safe. There's another speed up we can do here. There we go. And that's Anna. We just wait for her to finish. She should finish around a minute 22 to a minute 35 or so, depending on how well you do. It's usually under a minute 30 now, and that speed up makes it a lot easier. We used to go directly to the end, and that would despawn the enemies in the same way, but it's slower because it would scare Anna at the start. But yeah, this is another good time for any announcements or donations if you have any. I'm also just going to try to create Barrel Captain as we do that. Come on, let me create Barrel Captain. This hasn't been a great run so far. I want to create Barrel Captain. Oh, ooh, no, I must create Barrel Captain. Can I create Barrel Man, maybe? Why can't I lift this?
Maybe.
This is stuck. This barrel is stuck. It's stuck between this man and the chair. Nice.
But make sure that you guys are doing exclamation point. Make sure that you guys are doing.
Yeah, that might be an IL World Record. By the way. Maybe? That's a really good time. 122.486 is really good. I just don't know if there's a 121. That might be IL World Record. I have no idea. I actually don't know for this mission, because it's this mission. Why would I care? It might be. Is it? Did you verify? It's mission 14 on the leaderboards, if you need to look it up. Maybe. I don't know if I have a 121 yet. I may have gotten one, but this is definitely, like, close. And now we get on to the hardest part of the entire run. This is the trick that kills the category for most people. I can actually up your mic on my end, I think. So don't worry. Yeah. I've done it on my end, so hopefully it's better. Now we're going to do the trials, quote-unquote. Totally gonna do those, yeah. It's totally what I want to do. I want to do the 3 missions that take a bunch of load screens. No. So remember earlier I mentioned the Levitation Extensions, right? Those Levitation Extensions are pretty tricky to do, but I use a claw grip to do them, and it maintains my momentum while I'm hovering. So we're going to use that here to get onto this geometry. And the thing about the Levitation Extensions, not only does it maintain my momentum, which means I am pushed further up and forward, which means I can last on this geometry a lot longer than otherwise, but it also regains my action gauge, the thing that allows me to hover for more. So essentially, I use this frame-perfect trick constantly, like about 50 times minimum, in order to scale a few walls, and I regain the ability to hover as I go through. You're asking, are you still commentating? Are you still doing this? How are you still speaking while you're trying to do all these tricks? The good news is, again, it's the same frame each time, so with enough muscle memory, you can get it down pretty consistently. That being said, this is not easy, and so I'm also talking to avoid panicking. So it's always good that I try to do commentary my own during these runs, because otherwise I might over-concentrate and then, like, mess up. I don't want that. So I'm going to get to the top of this corner here at wall 2, and I'm going to turn the camera around, and I'm going to aim for this wall here, wall 3. This is the steepest wall of all, and I need to make sure that I'm tapping very lightly here as Silver to preserve the action gauge so I have a decent amount by the time I land on wall 3. Now here, I need to do a bunch of them in succession. If I mess up even a little bit, I risk falling and having to restart the entire trick over again. So I'm going to try to get a full bar here. I'm just using a claw grip, index finger on X, thumb on A, and there we go. That's the first recharge. We're going to do 2 more. This wall is sort of like a parallelogram slanted down to the right. So there's an edge to my top right. If I hit that, that's like a ceiling, so it'll bonk me back down and I'll fall faster. But it's actually worse to go to the left of this, because it's actually going to make the geometry disadvantageous, as I like to say. It will push you down the more you hover. So certain geometry needs to be an upward slope, like a positive slope, in order for you to actually hover up it. Otherwise, you're just going to get pushed down the further up you go. So also, the geometry here is not what you see. The visual geometry is not the same as the actual geometry. So I need to go by feel. And not to mention, silver is super slippery in this state, because it's very difficult. So I'm essentially hot fingering it. That's a term I can say, I guess, to try to keep stable as I go up this wall. And I'm going to do another bit of light tapping up here. Going to do a little bit of recharge, just to be safe. Get enough height here, and we're going to go to the left. To this pillar. I'm going to make sure I'm high enough. And do one more set of recharges. And there you go. That's trial skip. They did not check to make sure the mirror was not active before the missions were completed in this story. Unlike Sonic's story, where this mirror is not active. So as soon as I'm here, we're like that, and bam, that's trial skip. Hardest trick in the game, done in a marathon again. I was really worried because I didn't practice that today. Just short of world record, though. Just short of world record, wham, for that mission. Like 200 milliseconds off. That's actually really good. Anyhow, we're now doing a new trick. Of course we're doing a new trick at the start of a stage. Why wouldn't we? This is called Tele-Launch. So let's see if I can get it.
Darn it. I should have realized
Try that again. So this is based off a formerly used trick called a Tele-Fling. This isn't going too well. So the Tele-Fling essentially is picking up an object as if you're from afar while on top of it. So it's jumping, holding RT at the peak of your jump, and then getting the object back in range. At that point, the game tries to push objects a set distance away from silver. What it does when you're on top of it is it rotates and pushes you with it. Once in that state, you can throw the object, and at that point, you can then lift it as if it was a normal object. The thrown state is now permanently held, and that causes the object to skyrocket in whatever direction it accelerates, which means we can use it to get massive height and skip that entire section. I'm now doing a very difficult trick here, known as Sonic Skip, or I'm going to attempt to. I'm going to give this 2 more tries. Please last. Please make it. Please stay. Okay. This box here. This is a really difficult trick, so let's see if we can do it. I normally would defeat those enemies and switch to Sonic at this point, but it's faster, actually, to do a really complicated set of telethrows. Telethrows are easy relative to Silver in general. They're not frame perfect. They are pretty consistent. I'm just going to complete a Sonic, unfortunately. One more try for the fans. And there we go. That one try is now over. We have no more attempts. I'm not going to do that again. So Sonic Skip, the whole setup with it is you need to go through that hole in the wall. Not an easy thing to do. Given that you can't really easily see. And from there, you need to adjust telethrow to the right. And then I need to... So telethrows are based on Silver's facing direction as well. As soon as you hold the lift button, at that point, Silver's facing direction will lock. But you need to hold towards the object, the face of the object, no matter what. So I would be holding like up left, but Silver would be facing up right. And that means the object will be thrown adjusted to the right, because it's just a normal object. It's just a normal throw, and it functions the same way as Silver's regular objects. But instead, we're going to play as Sonic. So Sonic has a bunch of gems that we have from his story that we unlocked. And so we're going to use the Sky Gem there. The Sky Gem essentially teleports you, not teleports, it like shoots you to a location wherever the gem you throw lands. And if you use it like that, like I did, or you throw it against a wall and then accelerate quickly down, like by bounce braceleting, it launches you skyward in order to make up for the distance that you need to cover. So that means you can get a bunch of height easily. And now we have the purple gem. It makes Sonic tiny and jump a lot, because that makes sense. Fun fact, the action gauge at the bottom right was supposed to drain and limit how much you could do with Sonic. A single typo in the code prevents it from ever draining. So we have this as much as we want, which makes it really broken. And there we go. We just finished as Sonic. It's slower to finish as Sonic for two reasons. One, you cannot avoid the S rank unless you get a really bad time. I can avoid the S rank there if I got hit, for instance, but actually I couldn't have. No, I couldn't have. So getting Sonic Skip means you don't have to defeat like 2,000 points worth of enemies, which actually saves more time because you can avoid the S rank. The second thing is it's actually just legitimately faster. You can get a time as short as 1 minute and 16 seconds if that entire setup goes well. But you need to throw a box over a platform, hope you get an ETD after and don't fall or like hover just right. Hope the box doesn't just fly away from the tower, because it can do that often. You can throw it and then it doesn't stay around there, so you're at the whim of Havoc's physics engine. And then you need to set up the box at the right steepness to get over a window and make sure you get the right direction through that window. And from there, it's more or less clear. But yeah, hard trick. And now we're into Flamecore. I actually found new strats for Flamecore just yesterday in practice for this event. So there's a really nice setup here in Section 1 where we have this box and the spent ring capsule. The spent ring capsule here is actual collision, which means we can take this box and adjust it like so by lifting it and slowly moving it over until we get a steepness we like. I'm going to see if the steepness works. There we go. And now I can just telethrow through like halfway through the stage. The Section 2 is an inside section. We go inside the volcano to defeat Iblis. And it's a lot harder because it's like inbounds and there are a lot of death planes, so we didn't think we could use telethrow efficiently there. However, I found a setup yesterday, and funnily enough, it's the same setup as in Section 1, so I'm just going to go over here. There's a checkpoint for safety. And now we get Cocoa Puffs. These suck. So there are random meteors. Oh. And they can hit you at any point. As you can see. Gonna get some rings to be safe. They can even hit you in the automation here. This is an automated section. As you can see. And they can even hit you here if they really wanted to. If they really want to be extra mean, they can. And as Sonic and Shadow, there's no way to recover. As Silver, you can hover. But as Sonic or Shadow, you are dead. Just flat out dead. Which makes it something. You don't like getting puffed, as we say. And now we're into the final section of Flamecore. This is where my new setup will come in handy, I hope. I hope I get this. Let's see. I've been talking it up. So, get over here. Explode the box. Oh, or not. I'm gonna try to tilt this box a little bit to the left. Not extremely so, but a little bit leftwise. Oh, that's a bit too much. There we go. Or, I think that still works. So yeah, Silver can only lift objects until about 20% of his action gauge, if you're wondering. So I need to be careful not to do too much lifting. You also want to be very careful when these boxes are a bit fidgety. I'm now going to just try to adjust to make sure that's the right steepness. You want to be steep enough so that you can just walk on it without having to, like, run. So... there we go. So we can telethrow through here. We can't telethrow directly to the end, though. And I need to be very careful. There are a lot of death planes here. There are death planes in between the door and the outer area. There are death planes here to the right, which is where the ending is. That's why I didn't go directly into this room. This is the final room with the massive puff. I can't go directly into it because there's a lot of death planes surrounding, and I can't telethrow directly to the end because there's death planes from behind the goal ring, which sucks. So instead of any of that, I'm just going to align ourselves here. Oh my gosh, that was so close. That was really close to dying, but there we go. That's Flamecore, and that's a new strat right there. You can just telethrow through both sections now. That was really tight, honestly. Really tight right there. Because the floor is obviously lava, and so if you get hit there, you die, and I would have to restart from the very beginning because I didn't hit the checkpoint. So, yeah, we're on good pace. We're going to finish under estimate. And we have the final boss. So what do you think? How do you think this run would end? It's been a pretty interesting run, all things considered. How do you think this run would end? Rin, I want to ask you personally. How do you think this run would end? With what sort of boss?
Well, I'm assuming it's going to be Sonic. It can't be Eggman. Well, I'm
It,
assuming it's going to be
it's
Sonic.
Iblis,
It
as
can't
I
be
mentioned earlier, the
Eggman.
main antagonist, but this boss is random, entirely. And I mean random
Ah,
by a total of a minute in either
ah.
way. So, we're gonna get these Cocoa Puff batches, as we call them. And the end goal is to get... That's terrible. The end goal is to get at least 3 from luck. So the way I'm actually doing the puffs on the ground, they're set. I definitely have them. It's these puffs from luck that are awful. Horrible, even. Because they can just explode. And they aren't fun. Okay, I got 3 from luck, so we have a definite 220. This boss can be as low as 120. If you just get the right luck. I now need another hit from luck. So there are 3 puffs to the side and 4 in the middle. The 4 in the middle respawn after every batch, which is why I try to go back into the middle to get them again. I think we're safe enough. Either way, we're still going to finish this boss, and I'm going to finish with time, but... this boss sucks. Like, there's nothing worse than the luck you get here determining what sort of time you'll get. I think that's a 220. It is either a 220 or barely not a 220. You need 3 hits from luck to get a 220, you need 8 hits from luck to get a 1.5x, and then you need 13 hits from luck to get a 1.2x. If you miss those hits, and that's assuming you get all the hits on the ground. There are a total of 19 supposedly definite hits. Iblis takes 32. There are 3 to your left and right, immediately when you spawn in, and there are 4 that spawn in the center every time a puff batch finishes, so you get 8 from that. Then you get the facepalm here. This is 5 points worth of damage, or 5 hits worth, the facepalm. And then you get another 4 normally, but there is a puff that we're going to pick up that normally would fall off, but it doesn't fall off for us, and so we can rescue a puff here and get an additional hit. So I'm going to go to the back left here. We're going to pick up this puff. It normally would die. And get a hit there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're safe. We do have a hit, and so time is going to come up very soon. And we're just going to wait for Iblis to throw the God Puff at us, and that'll be time, because Iblis's God Puff takes 5 hits. This boss is a really bad way to end the game, but it's still a very fun run overall. I don't like the RNG in this boss. So... time. 45:04. Honestly, for me saying this was nowhere near as good as the runs I got in practice, actually. It was still 5 minutes underestimate. Yeah. I'm happy with that, overall. Considering the errors that were in the run and everything, pretty good. That's Silver's story, no credits for. And that is Sonic 06, everyone. I really hope you all enjoyed that. It's quite a fascinating run, because I think a lot of people, again, there's this presumption that bad game means bad speed game, and that is totally not the case. I'm happy that I'm hopeful that I showed you all how wonderful this game can be as a speed run, because it's honestly seen as one of the best Sonic speed games by the community at large. Like, flat out. The main thing that probably moves people away from 06 is actually the load times. And that's fair, because there's load time variation here that can account for like 30 seconds potentially in either direction. And there's no way to control that. But we're hopefully making a loadless timer pretty soon, so that'll be a thing of the past. Yeah, so thank you all for having me at Habothon. I'm actually going to be on later today with another run. But I do hope you enjoyed this run. If you want to follow me or support me, I am FocusSight, FocusSight, on Twitch and on Twitter. And yeah, it was lovely. I'm glad that you enjoyed it as well, Rin. It was lovely having you as a host. And yeah, thank you, everyone.
And thank you for doing that awesome run. I actually enjoyed that. That was my first time seeing Sonic 06. I actually enjoyed that. It was really cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot of really cool runs as well. I recently did all gold medals for Silver's story at a GDQ recently, at one of their hotfixes. And that's essentially the 100% category for this run, which is about 2 hours. And it's actually my favorite category. Oh, we're out. What?
Yeah. It's all right. Thank you again for that. Looks like we have a slight change to the schedule here. Let me see here.
Do you want a 40-minute glitch exhibition? Smile.
Let's see here. It looks like we're gonna be doing The Legend of Zelda